9 p.m. Sunday deadline.
Yeah. Like, by the way, don't do that. If you do, like,
Don't do that to people.
Sunday deadlines in general, stop it.
Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. I got Matt Benelli with me. My name is Garrett Fry, and we're excited to spend some time with you today. As always, we love taking this time and putting this content together and throwing it out for you. And Matt and I spend time before every single episode kicking around all of our thoughts. What are we seeing in the industry right now? People we're working with, wins that people are having, struggles that people are having. And we were talking today because there's an element that's starting to come back up right now. We're starting to see this pace of this market start to really get going again. And in some markets, we're hearing about a lot of listings getting ready to come on. In some markets, we're hearing about crazy amounts of open house, parties going through open houses. And we're also hearing about offers being placed on the table by buyers that are competing and trying to figure out how can they be successful in this marketplace. And what we're watching is, as this pace is starting to pick up, it can be absolutely overwhelming for some of the agents out there as they're just going, how do I balance all this? Am I seeing a marketplace start to come back that I've seen in the past that was completely overwhelming and had just way too many moving parts to it? And what does this all mean? And Matt, you brought this topic of controlling the chaos, don't let it control you. And let's dive into this today, because I feel like we have the ability of getting ahead of this right now if we have the right processes, if we set the right expectations. But if not, you are going to be on a ride.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
You're going to be on a very fun, maybe ride, but probably outrageously stressful ride. It's like one of those roller coasters where you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm so stressed out of my mind right now.
Well, it might be, you can't do it for very long though. Like if you go to an amusement park, there's very few people that can ride those types of rides all day long and sustain it. For the most part, like you gotta have some middle ground in there. There's a reason there's certain rides that are like the staple of Disneyland. They're like, these are the big ones. And these are the ones that are big attractors. And it's not the crazy intense ones. And it's not the teacups all the time. There's some middle ground rides that people are attracted to because they can stay in the park all day long and do those.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to be prepared.
We do need to be prepared. And I think, throughout this episode, we're going to talk about really kind of two primary things, Garrett, which is the mindset on how we approach a market like this, and then the processes that we want to have in place in order to manage that.
Yep.
And so good morning to you. Good morning, everybody, or good evening, wherever you might
Wherever
be.
you are.
We appreciate you tuning into us as always. But Garrett, this came up for me through many conversations too. So this isn't just, if you're listening out there, you all know who you are whenever we're talking about situations, our clients, that is. This isn't pinned down to one specific person, but what I'm hearing is like, gosh, the market is picking up, it's going fast, and I'm just having trouble managing it. I feel like I need to be everywhere all the time, constantly available. And part of this is, Garrett, just a side effect of being in real estate, because as we've talked about before, the industry is a 24/7 industry. You can go online at any point in time and look at homes, and different buyers and sellers have different personal schedules. It's not like everybody's going into Target when they open up and doing their Black Friday deal shopping here. That's like, when can we do this? And people bend over backwards to try to get an advantage. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but at the same time, we can have some element of control over that chaos. And Garrett, it starts with the mindset. You brought this up on a episode a few episodes ago about like pathways that we choose to go. And you can choose to go the hard path or you can choose to go the easy path. You just have to know which pathway you're going into. And that's kind of like the real estate market. The difference is our choice is going to be based on the results that we want to have, not the experience necessarily, because if the market is the jungle right now where you need to suit up and be like in all your gear, ready to fight all of the saber-toothed tigers that are out there, like that's the market. Like if you want to go get a house, then be ready to go that path. The problem is a lot of times we try to protect our clients. We try to say, hey, we're going to have this process. It's going to be so nice. We're going to reduce the stress. Don't worry. Like, I would not let you do something that I would not do myself and all these things. And I get that, but we can't control the environment. And if we try to set that picture and it's not the actual environment we're in, we're going to set ourselves up for failure and stress, because we're going to be trying to basically fight the saber-toothed tigers without the client knowing that we're doing it. And that's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough day.
You started this off with, basically looking at, we are in an industry that can be 24/7. And I think it's a really important thing to understand right up front. And I'm not saying anybody needs to be a 24/7 agent. No. I'm not saying you need to be on call all the time. I'm not saying you need to answer your phone all the time. But what I do think we need to understand is that it's a high stakes situation for our clients that are out there. And as we have these clients that are in this industry, and I know for myself, if I was looking at buying a house right now, it's very easy for me in the middle of the night to be looking up property and sending those to my real estate agent and being like, what about this one? What about this one? Why haven't we seen this one? Hey, this one just popped up. It's a brand new one. Or texting them things as I'm like driving around, or I see a sign. And I think as a real estate agent, if we don't have the right expectations set with our client, we can very easily be like, I have to respond immediately when they send it. That means it's 9:00 at night. They're expecting a response from me right now because I haven't set the stage properly. And we get in this, I've got to take care of them. And then we go, I can't do this. I just want to sit here with my family and relax tonight. But now I'm having to answer this person who's sending me this stuff. But we didn't set the stage right. Like right. we didn't let the client know, you can send me stuff all the time. This is primarily, if we're not in contract trying to get this deal done, I'm probably going to reach out to you tomorrow morning. I'm going to go through all your texts, all your things you sent. I'll hash it all out, and I'm going to get you some answers back, and we'll set up some showings or whatever we need to do. I'm not going to respond to you at 9:00 at night. Now, if we're under contract and there's deadlines looming and there's like a lot of things going on, maybe I might go, hey, this is important, and we got to handle this right now. But we got to set the expectations, because this is a 24-hour business that these clients will keep you up all night long, especially as the pace picks up, Matt. And we are watching that pick up right now. It really is.
Yeah. We are. And I think this specific scenario, let's go with the example that you brought up here. It starts with your mindset of believing that you can control this chaos, right? And what I mean by that is you're not going to be able to slow down the market. You're not going to be able to slow down the crazy decisions that your clients make when they're just like, you know what, actually, can we go see that house? Or, you know what, maybe I really do want to write an offer on that house. Like, would it be okay if we didn't waive inspections, or do we need to do that? You may not be able to control that. However, you can start to believe that, hey, I can build a process where I'm going to be able to handle it, because a full day, I look at it this way, I'm like, gosh, man, a full day of back-to-back showings and listing appointments and inspections, like, that's an awesome day. Like, that means you're out there doing the things that will make you money. Like, that's a beautiful thing. Now, I get it. There's a lot of stress that's involved in there, but that usually comes from not being prepared in a certain way. So if you do have your clients texting you and all this stuff, the first thing is like you said, set the expectation of how you communicate. But then the second thing is live by your own expectations. If you're constantly breaking your own rules, your clients are going to think, oh, maybe that's not actually a rule because Garrett keeps texting me back.
I just had to say that to somebody. Rules don't exist if you break the rules. Like, if you're gonna set rules in your business, you have to follow them and abide by them.
I tell them not to do this. Like, it doesn't matter what they do; it matters what you do.
So okay. The example I used with this about following rules. I used to live in Southern Oregon. The highway patrol came on years ago, and the speed limit up there is 65 miles an hour on Highway 5 through there. They came out and said, yeah, we won't pull you over for, you have to be going at least over 80, and that's the only time we'll actually pull you over. They came out on the news and said it.
New speed limit now is 79.
The posted speed limit 65. Everybody else said, we're going 80. Like, If that's what the rule is, if that's where we're at, we're not going to be going 65 miles an hour. And I think it's interesting is it's like they took the power away of the sign on the side of the road, which is typically the rule that says this is where you're supposed to drive. And now everybody was like, whatever, and just started doing their own thing. Now they did follow the 80 mile an hour rule for the most part, but it's one of those interesting things is like, you can't break those rules because all of a sudden they don't mean anything anymore. That very quickly, all of a sudden it's like, whatever you're saying. Okay. Yeah. I hear you don't like to take calls on the weekend and you're calling me on Monday. The minute you do, the minute you're working, that's done. Yeah. Doesn't matter what you said.
And so the third part of this then too, Garrett, becomes, well, because I hear then, but what if it's urgent? What if like they want to see this property or have second thoughts on this? I'm like, okay, so the third part is we need to start to pull some of this stuff forward into earlier in the day. And this may create extra work, but it's actually going to free up a whole lot more time. So we advocate having these weekly customer service calls with your clients where you kind of review what's going on and everything. Maybe that needs to then accelerate to, we need to have daily emails that go out that remind clients of where they're at and what are the next decision points that need to be made and what are the expectations on that timeline. And when you're in conversation, so if you're having a conversation earlier in the day with a client and they're like, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's the house. I think we're going to wait. A lot of agents will be like, okay, well, let me know what you want to do. And that's when the 9 o'clock text comes in and says, you know what, we want to write the offer, or we do want to go do the second showing. And you start scrambling because you're like, how am I going to set up a showing for tomorrow? So earlier in that conversation, pull the decision forward a little bit with, well, what's the worst that can happen? And say, you know what, it sounds like you might want to see it again. Let's just schedule the showing. Worst case scenario, we can always cancel it. Don't be afraid to set your calendar up, which actually can then work in your favor if something doesn't happen, because showing gets canceled. Cool. You just captured back some time that you can use for some, marketing or other calls or whatever it might be. And the same point too, in those conversations, bring through some of their, the sticking points that they're having in a decision. Let's say it's like, well, we may want to write an offer. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about that, right? Yep. Let's talk about what it would take and go to a point. And this actually was something that Steph Ellis, who's in Philly, told me she did with a client. Was she was having a conversation and the person was having like a tough time in deciding whether they want to make an offer. So she called the listing agent to get more details about what's going on with the property. Turned out it had a lot of interest. There was already offers and there was like a number. And so she went to the client. She said, okay, great. Well, if this is something you want to do, like, here's what it's going to take. I just talked to the listing agent. Here's the expectations. Are you prepared to meet those expectations? And the client's like, you know what? I don't think so right now. Cool. Didn't have to do another showing. Didn't write an offer. And all was good because there was clarity brought forward versus waiting for the client to make a decision. We just brought more information to the table to move the decision point up. And that will save you so much stress from these last minute calls, texts, and things like that.
Well, you keep using the word decision, Matt, and that word is ringing to me right now because really in a working day, there's certain hours where decisions can really be made. Like we can make decisions. We can make working decisions with the other parties that we're trying to figure out a deal with. Yeah. And I very rarely do I ever hear of an agent that says, look, usually they'll say it this way, I don't work past 5:30. Because that's my family time. And that's when I have my time. I take care of myself and I'm with the people that I love. And, I hope you understand that. The other side of that is like, if we want to get, I'm going to say the word, Matt, if we want to get shit done, this is the time. It's from 8 until 5 o'clock. And why is it that time? Because this is when decisions can be made. This is when I have other parties I can work with. I can talk to the city. I can talk to other brokers in our industry. I can reach out to other parties to see what's going on. We can make stuff happen during these times. Outside of these times, we're doing a lot of talking. We can kind of put together some ideas and things like that. But if we're in a fast-paced market, I don't care about those hours. Those hours are not real time that we can make stuff happen. These are the hours we can. And I think if you set that expectation with your clients up front, you get your time that you were wanting to spend with your family and be able to take care of the people that you love. But you also get a way more powerful hour where instead of that client that's going to work during the day and they're doing their job and handling all their stuff. And then all of a sudden they get done with work at 5 o'clock and like, oh, right, where were we with real estate? Okay, let's go and like sit down and we'll do this stuff and we'll get Matt on the phone. And now we're going to start doing all these things. If they know that they're out of the real time that things can get done and can make happen, what they'll do is they'll actually take time out of their actual working day and go, okay, I've got a slow time here in my day right now. Let's get Matt on the phone. Let's get my spouse on the phone. Let's figure out what the game plan is for this weekend of how we're going to do showings and what's going to happen here, because we can make decisions right now. This is a decision-making time. The expectations have to be set right. And we can have control over this chaotic time. And again, I say chaotic time. I'm not seeing it yet at the level that we saw back in 2020 or 2021 or 2022. But there's this little thing in the back of my head, Matt, that says we could see that energy come back around right now. And that's why it's so important that you guys start getting ahead of this right now.
I also think that like chaos can happen for you as an agent, even if it doesn't exist in the market, just based on like how many people are you tending to right now? Because like you could have a completely slow market and all of a sudden you have two clients who want to see property at the same time. And you're like, oh my God, chaos is ensuing. And everyone else is like, what are you talking about? and this comes really early on then into the expectations as you're setting. And we talked about those pathways, like going into the jungle or going the easier path. And this is where, when you're talking to your clients up front, first of all, this is a very, very important decision, buying a home or selling a home, right? But this chaos typically happens more with buyers, right? So we need to also let them know like, hey, we're going to make this as great as possible for you, but we also have to understand you're going into a new situation, which is going to require some different habits and routines for you. Because you brought up the clients coming home from work, and a lot of real estate agents will say, well, yeah, but my client's working and they can't take the time. It's like, they might need to take the time. I remember when I was showing my college roommate houses years ago, and I said to him, I said, I know you guys really want to get a house, so we're going to have to like plan some days where you guys aren't going to work. Like you're calling in sick, you're taking a vacation day, because it's going to get us ahead of other buyers and sellers. And what's interesting is they said like, okay, we'll do that. And some of those days we didn't find the house, right? And is that lost time? No, because it was education time. It helped put them ahead of the game so that when they did find the house, whether it was an open house or one of those times, like they knew what to do. They were already in the mindset of being a step forward. So a lot of this isn't just from a scheduling perspective. If we're setting the expectations with our clients up front, maybe they do need to take the day off of work, maybe they don't, but now they're more mentally prepared to do the things that will help them get what they want, versus thinking they're on easy street, on all of a sudden, sitting up out of the beach chair with the Mai Tai and going like, whoa, what happened? It's like, oh dude, these people behind you, they were like running and chasing and finding all the stuff while we were just sitting here looking at the ocean. It's like, oh, I didn't realize I had to be over there doing that.
Well, okay, so let's go back to this also, is that we are the expert in this industry and in this situation. These people who, they do this once every 7 years, give or take. Right. Sometimes more often, sometimes less often, but on average, about every 7 years, they get a chance to go through this home buying and selling process. So when you look at that and you're trying to go, okay, they're the ones setting the pace here. They're the ones calling the shots and saying, oh, by the way, here's what we need. Here, we need this right now. You really, at the end of the day, you have the power to take the reins. You have the power to be able to say, this is how we're going to do this. This is how I'm going to successfully help you through this process. And you have to listen to me, and you've got to set these standards and set this working relationship up front. And if you don't, that's on you. Like you have set this game, and you are now at the whim of what's going on. So in my mind, I keep having this analogy of like a river rafting guide. Anybody who's been on a river raft, down a whitewater rafting trip, hopefully you can ride with me on this journey for a second. If I'm in the boat and I have the guide behind me who's got the oars, we all got our paddles, but really he's the one doing the making sure this thing is going to the right place and going down the right sections of this river. What's really interesting is that there might be a point in there where I'm like, I want a sandwich. I think I want to make a sandwich. And He has the ability of going, dude, sit down and grab a hold of a rope. Not sandwich time, buddy. Like, no sandwiches right now. And I can sit there and be like, but I'm really hungry. Like, I think I want to make a sandwich right now. Like, there's a place in there of like, dude, there's a rapid coming up. There's chaos that's about to ensue. And I need you to listen to me so that you're going to be safe through this section here right now. You got to do what I need you to do. I'll let you know when it's time to make a sandwich. And I think that like, we put that trust in someone like a river guide where when he goes, dude, sit down, and we go, oh crap, he must be serious. And we grab a rope and we sit down and we're like ready to go. We don't take the reins like that a lot of times in our business and in real estate. We don't take that assertive power to be able to go, here's how you need to approach this right now, because I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to protect your sanity. I'm trying to protect your relationship with your loved one here as you're going through this because it's stressful. I'm trying to protect your bank account as we go through this. Like, I am trying to make sure you are safe on this journey, and you're going to come out the other side of it going, wow, we got what we wanted. We're where we want to be. We have this new journey in this life that we're on. And I hate to say it, like, this is important. Like, what you are guiding them through and what they are coming out the other side of it, this is their life. This is their next 7 years of potentially their memories and their world that they're going to be in. Like, don't just take it in a half-assed way. Own it. Show up. Be their guide. Be the one that's there to make sure they're going to be safe. And think about the river guide. Go and sit down. Like, what are you doing right now? Like, you need to be that for them. Because just as often as we go on a river rafting trip is about as often as I've actually probably sold a house.
That's a really good point. And I like that analogy because a lot of realtors will be like, okay, go ahead and make your sandwich. And they'll just steer the boat into more comfortable waters. You can't really do that on a river rafting trip, but let's say you could. And then they get down and then the client's like, man, that was a great sandwich. So when are we going to hit some rapids? And you're like, oh, we missed them. It's like, what do you mean we missed them? Well, you wanted to make a sandwich. Well, why didn't you tell me not to make the sandwich? It's like, I tried to, but you really wanted the sandwich. You said you were hungry. And that's exactly how a lot of realtors approach how they do the home buying process with buyers. Like, yeah, they have and this can sneak up on you too, by the way. So like, no hate if this is happening to you. Like, you just have to realize what's going on because you might have a great upfront process. You may have set some really good ground rules. You may be clear on what the buyers want in terms of the quality of home and all that stuff. And we're still running into these issues. It's most likely because we just didn't take the time to set and follow expectations for the process and understanding what market we're in. If we're going into Whitewater Rapids, no sandwich time.
So okay, let me continue. I want to add on to this river rafting idea just a little bit more because as I'm thinking about it, like I have watched a guide go down through a rapid where maybe it wasn't sandwich time, but something was wrong. Something was wrong in the boat. Somebody was in an unsafe position. And you're right. There is no calmer water for the most part, but there are places in the middle of a rapid sometimes to get that thing into a little bit of an eddy or something to be able to say, grab that, sit down, come over here. You're in an unsafe position. Every time I've ever seen that happen, you will watch the guide burn out every bit of energy they have trying to fix the situation. You will get done with that rapid, and where they would usually be like, let's just keep going down the river, guys. The guide is like, I need to pull the boat over to the side for a second because like I am wiped. Every bit of my strength is wiped. My shoulders are on fire. My back is on fire because I had to do a crazy maneuver during a time of chaos where I could have had all the expectations set in this boat. I could have had everything prepared up above before we entered the rapid. But I didn't. I didn't have everybody sit down. I didn't have everybody put their life vests on. I didn't have everything safe and ready to go inside this boat. So what it means is I ruined myself halfway through. And I think we watch real estate agents do this all the time. We watch mortgage brokers do this. Anybody in any business, when the expectations aren't set right.
Gosh, we've done it. Like,
you find yourself out of whack in an important place. We could talk about this in racing. You know, you set yourself up wrong for a corner and all of a sudden you're going into it too fast. You're out of whack. You're not on a racing line. And you're sliding across the road, grabbing the wheel, and you come out the other side of it and you have adrenaline spikes. Your hands are tingling. Your lips are tingling. And you're just like, whoa, like that was And then the next half of the racetrack, you're driving at half speed because you just freaked yourself out. Like you're just trying to get yourself back grounded. We do this in business all the time. And again, this is about knowing what you're up against, setting expectations, being the leader. My gosh, be the leader for your clients.
Yeah.
That's what they've hired you for. It's also where I think where our industry, Matt, has gotten way out of whack, because there's a lot of people out here who hire a real estate agent because they think that's what they have to do to be able to buy or sell, not because of what they should do when they're buying or selling.
Right.
It's this formality they've got to deal with, instead of like you are my expert, I trust you, you tell me how we need to do this because I'll listen to you. That relationship hasn't necessarily been set up for a lot of realtor and clients, or again, fill in the industry sometimes if you're running into a problem here.
And here's the good news. Like, you can handle so much if you are properly trained yourself, if you have the right mindset and you're setting the right expectations. Because using the river raft guide as an example still, like, there's probably some river raft guides that can go and guide that raft while they're eating a sandwich. And they're going to be like, cool, I got this. Versus another guide doing the same route can't do it because they've burned themselves out so many other times in advance. And so if you have more of your folks set up on a better plan where you are pulling a lot of the decisions forward for them through just honest, direct conversations, and this isn't like you're going to be forcing, like, Garrett, you need to make a decision right now. There's a whole, I mean, we can go into a whole episode on just conversational strategy, but I think you guys get it. And the more you're doing that, you're like, cool, I can handle more. Like, bring me another buyer. Like, I got this. Like, because I got these expectations. I know where these people are at. And then if one person changes course, you have the space to be able to handle that. You're like, okay, I can handle one person messing some things up. Like, fine, Garrett's making a sandwich while we're going down this thing. I've told him to sit down so many times and he's not. I'm going to be doing some maneuvers here, but I can handle it because I'm trained. I'm ready for that. And everybody else is listening. Everybody else is good. And that's where we got to get. And most agents are, everybody in the boat's making sandwiches and we're navigating whitewater rapids, or we're just blowing the trip off completely. And then we wonder why we miss out on the house.
Or
and
sometimes you need to push them out of the boat and be like, I told you to sit down.
Well, that's at some point that might need to happen.
Told you to sit down, you want to get back in, you want to do this my way, you want to do it your way. Like, I'm just telling you.
Cool, man, you can swim. What are you doing? He's got a life vest, he'll be fine. So anyway, Garrett, that's, if we do this, I mean, it's a simple thing. It's hard to do. I totally get it. Yeah. And it takes a lot on the mindset side. You have to believe that you can control this. It
takes a lot of trust in yourself. I think this is a big thing, man. You need to trust yourself that you are the professional and you are here to help and guide these people. And if you don't have that trust in yourself, you need to go gather it. You need to find it, because otherwise you will be at the mercy of the clients going, hey, you don't mind if I take the wheel for a second, do you?
Yeah. And you'll also find, all of a sudden, the ideas of like how you get ahead of this are going to come up with the more trust you have in yourself. You'll be like, hey, what if I actually just communicate with my clients a little bit more frequently in this method so that they know exactly where they're at and we have completely clear communication, and they also know where I'm at. So they know when there won't be availability. Like, oh, there's a property deadline. Do you want to use the property deadline, or do you need to set your own deadline? Like, oh, they're taking offers until 9 p.m. It's like, okay, well, I know that I'm probably going to need to be around because that agent who set that stupid deadline is going to call with some stuff, but I'm going to have my client's deadline at 3 p.m. They're going to be set with their best and final offer at 3. We're going to be ahead of the game. We're going to show the seller that we're prepared. We're going to be there ready, waiting, but we're not going to be making last minute decisions, because truly the decision's already been made. We just need to make it and put it on paper. And so don't be afraid to move your own deadlines up too, because it'll make you better. It'll make your clients better.
Shame on you for the 9 p.m. Sunday deadline.
Yeah. Like, by the way, don't do that. If you do, like,
don't do that to people.
Sunday deadlines in general, stop it.
It doesn't raise your ability of getting an offer on your property. I'll tell you that.
Anyway, so any other things you wanted to highlight on this one, Garrett?
No, I think this is great, and I think that just again, it's a good reminder of, a lot of times we don't. Well, I guess there is something I want to highlight. There's a lot of time here that I think that we don't prepare ourselves for the upcoming. We prepare ourselves as reactionary in the moment, and it's very hard to correct when things are going sideways and going crazy because you're grasping, you're trying to figure this all out.
Yeah.
And you're much better like putting your pads on before you go into the tackle football game instead of getting out there and going, oh wait, I just got hit really hard. Like what are we doing out here? Like, oh, you should have pads on. Like you need to know the game you're playing. Look at the environment you're about to get into. Look down the road. I have a lot of realtors right now tracking the numbers of the industry and looking at what are the absorption rates and how are those changing literally sometimes weekly, if not definitely monthly, but looking at like how are the inventory levels changing, how the absorption rates changing, how are the odds of selling changing right now. And all of this is designed to be like, what game am I playing? What am I up against here right now? So I can help guide my people. I can make the calls that I need to be making, and I can understand what I'm heading into at the moment. Because as these numbers start to get crazier, if inventory starts to drop, if absorption rate starts to go way up, if odds of selling change dramatically, you get to decide, okay, how do I need to suit up? Right now, actually, I look at the market. It's one of the healthiest markets I've seen in a long time. We have buyers that want to buy. We have sellers that want to sell. We have sellers that have equity. It's actually a fairly kind of smooth game right now. But there's some elements that we're watching out here where it's like we are seeing a lot of buyers in some markets enter the marketplace. We are seeing a lot of listings in a lot of markets getting ready to hit the marketplace. By the time this airs, we might be in a very different situation where a lot of inventory has hit in a lot of markets. If you don't know and you're not aware and you're not prepared for it, it's like being in a river and not knowing the rapid that's coming up next so you can prepare everybody in the boat for what's about to happen. You have these numbers at your fingertips. You can do this for yourself.
And why not be prepared for the worst or the toughest, right? It's like, hey, we're going to play a touch football game. It's like, cool, I'm going to bring my helmet just in case. Just in case it changes, because you can look at a marketplace that's like cool, calm, and all of a sudden that one property that everybody wants is chaos. Everything else around it is like chilling. You could probably walk in, take a few days to make a decision, but that one property, boom, it happened. And then that's all of a sudden when the clients go, but you told me the market was chill. It's like, well, it is, but that property though is special because we've never seen anything like it.
This
and
goes
like
back.
You need to be ready for those.
This goes back right now, Matt, to as we're seeing marketplaces start to pick up inventory. We're starting to see that, start to take place. Everybody I've talked to, you mentioned it before we started recording, cream puffs are going fast. It's not like inventory sitting. If it's a good property and it's priced right, everyone out there has said to me, those aren't lasting. Those buyers are snatching those up so fast, which again, as I go back to, is a healthy marketplace right now. Like it's
sometimes it's just like surprise things happen. So quick story to wrap this up. In my neighborhood, on my street, there's these two homes next door to each other that have been on the market for, to me, it seems like they've been on the market for longer than they have been because I see them every single day. But they've been on the market for like 30, 45 days, nothing crazy. And it was over the holidays. And I was on a walk with my wife and I'm like, man, these houses, like they're just kind of sitting there. Whereas every other house in the neighborhood, when I see it come up, it sells. It's like, I wonder what's going on. That night, boom, boom, both under contract. Next day, somebody posts in the Facebook group, hey, I have somebody who's looking for a house like in the neighborhood, this, that. And someone's like, what about those two houses on Pumpkin Seed that haven't sold? They're like, they both went under contract. And I heard this other one that's in the neighborhood already has offers on it. And I was like, all of a sudden, just market shifted in a day, right? So you got to be prepared, suit up, get ready, have your expectations set, and you guys will thrive out there. You can control it. You got to believe it first and then embrace it. Be excited when you have like a crazy busy day because you set it up that way. Like if you're setting your days up to be crazy, like you get to enjoy the crazy. Like nobody goes and runs a marathon and goes, oh my God, I didn't realize it's 26.2 miles. Yeah, you did. You've been training for it for months. So
I don't know, man. I did the 24-hour walk. I didn't train at all for it. So
that's because you're an idiot. I mean,
it might be. Well, dude, great topic. Again, I think and just take control, you guys. Take control, and again, when it comes down to controlling the chaos, bring the chaos into your normal working day. I know that it can be crazy, it can be fast paced, but it doesn't need to be a 24/7 crazy. You need time to relax, you need downtime, and there's only certain times of the day when real decisions can be made and real contracts can be ratified and real work is going to get done. Do the work during that time.
I really like that perspective on it. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate you a whole lot. If you got something out of this episode, we'd love to hear it. Like if you're watching on YouTube, go drop a comment of like, what was the number one takeaway from this? Because it's what's caught, it's not what's taught. And if you guys are catching these things, the more you write it down, the more it'll stick in your head. And we'd love to just see what you're learning from this. So if you're not watching on YouTube, head over to YouTube and drop a comment. If you do prefer the audio version, we would love to hear your thoughts through a review that you can leave on the platform, and share it out, guys. That's one of the best ways you can help us grow this podcast and reach more people to help continue to accelerate this industry and help people just like you. Is share this with your colleagues, share this with other people. We so appreciate all of you for doing that. And come check us out, lifeat10tenths.com. We got a few membership levels if you want to join our community of incredible real estate agents who are out there crushing it. If you want to join our live coaching, you can access it through there. You can get a 7-day free trial. We also have guest hosted workshops that are really awesome, and all that stuff's recorded. So when you sign up for the trial, you got to go see all the stuff that's on there. Business planning's on there. Dan Martell is on there. We got Matthew Ferrara on there. We got so many awesome
all the live
things
coaching's there. Every live coaching call we've ever done, all recorded and on there,
including our exclusive frameworks that you will only find there. I think. No, I know. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you, everybody.